And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It's time for Yay or Nay. First up, apparently North Korea was supplying nukes to Iran while world powers were in Switzerland trying to reach a nuclear agreement with the fine folks from Tehran earlier this month, which of course violates UN sanctions on both countries and stuff. To review, UN sanctions imposed on Iran back in 2010 prohibit the country from purchasing ballistic missile goods as well as, quote, technology related to ballistic missiles capable of delivering nuclear weapons. Since last September, 2 shipments of missile parts were sent from North Korea to Iran. However, UN officials say the transfers are covered by the sanctions. The next rounds of nuclear talks with Iran are scheduled to begin next week in Vienna. The goal is to reach a comprehensive agreement, you know, the kind of actual stuff that has details and everything in it this time, by the end of June. No matter what happens with these talks, panel, will Iran ever really stop trying to build nuclear weapons, Heather Hansen?
No way. I mean, that's the problem. They're never going to stop. They don't even really pretend like they're going to stop. They want us to believe that they're not going to stop because that's part of their culture and that's part of they need that ego thing.
Defiance?
Yeah, absolutely. And just that they shouldn't have to stop.
Right.
Well, the question is trying to get a defined answer. You can't say no matter what happens because everything matters about what happens. If we reach a deal that's enforceable, hell yeah, that matters. If we don't, then of course they're going to keep building them. There's nothing to stop them.
Jane?
Well, I think they will keep trying to build nuclear weapons. And the question is, do we want them to build them underground in secret, or do we want to be able to see what they're doing so we can stop them? And that's why there's a deal to try to have transparency so we can observe what they're doing and stop them.
I am a nay as well. They will never ever stop trying to build nuclear weapons because that's just the way
they are.
Right, exactly. Well, they're not willing to give up
the.
the centrifuges, right? Or so that alone tells me.
But they apparently are going to give up a lot of them from 19,000 to 6,000. That's pretty good.
Okay, only 6,000. What could possibly
It's
go
only
wrong?
6,000.
The internet has been mostly critical of Hillary Clinton's new campaign logo, comparing it to hospital signs or asking if a third grader drew it, and even saying it was funded by donations from the Saudis. So we sent a reporter out. We didn't. ABC did. Their host Jimmy Kimmel of Jimmy Kimmel Live took to the streets of Los Angeles to see what people thought of some other possible campaign logos, for Mrs. Clinton.
We went out on the street today and asked people what
That's it. Please note there were some other logos, but they're not safe to air on this network. Question, is a campaign logo really that important, Rick Unger?
No.
You wouldn't think so, but with the amount of press that it's gotten and
there's
the amount
nothing
of
else to talk about,
yeah,
you know.
I agree with you. It's not that big of a deal.
I think Give 'em Hill is actually, without the devil face, actually a pretty good slogan. Maybe she should go for that. I mean, she's accused of being stiff. If she gives him Hill, I think that might add a little bit of humor to the campaign. Go for it, Hill.
This may catch on. I remember President Obama's campaign logo in 2008, and everybody thought he stole it from Pepsi because it was the same colors.
right.
And so it's hard for these things not to look like something. Anyway, London medical workers rushing to a life or death scene recently after receiving a call that a woman had collapsed. One problem, the woman in need was really a pigeon. Yes, call it a case of a classic misunderstanding. The bird is a slang term for woman in England. So when the Good Samaritan called for help, thinking the ambulance service was for animals as well, of course, and said a bird collapsed, he really meant a bird had collapsed. The medical workers did try to save the bird, but unfortunately the bird didn't make it. Funeral services will be held tomorrow. You people are laughing. Should England find a different slang word for ladies? Let me ask you, Heather Hansen.
I don't have any problem with bird. There's very few things that you can call me that would offend me. Bird's not one of them.
You're a sweet broad. What do you think, Jane?
I have rescued pigeons off the streets of New York. I am actually moderating the Wild Bird Fund's Flocktail next week at the Vanderbilt Museum and Mansion. Everybody's invited. I believe in rescuing birds, and I think we should continue to do that.
Fascinating. Rick?
There's always one every show.
You don't care?
I
Women are
don't
pathetic.
care.
I know you do.
We can't tell the press
Well, I
what
like
to do.
saving
Anyway,
birds,
we got
but I don't need to
MSNBC
change the
weekend
name of what
host
they call
Melissa
women.
Harris Perry and her husband James owe the IRS about $70,000 in delinquent taxes. This according to a North Carolina newspaper. IRS has even placed a lien on the Perrys. Here's the bottom line. Quickly, everybody. Does anybody at MSNBC pay taxes? Jane?
I'm sure they do. This
Heather.
is embarrassing.
I think the
though.
majority
I
does.
know they do. I have friends there.
Okay, very good. And that's all of our time. Thank you, panel. I'm Joe Concha saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.